Drake was never supposed to fall. For over a decade, he was untouchable, hit after hit, record after record, beef after beef. But somewhere between the music, the fame, and the money, something changed. He went from dominating charts to suing the music industry itself. From calling out rivals to being accused of hypocrisy. News broke, Drake's lawsuits over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us dismissed by the judge. And now, after losing a lawsuit he started and facing hate from the same culture that built him, the question is no longer, is Drake the GOAT? It's rather, what happened to Drake? Because this isn't just another celebrity feud. It's a story about power, ego, and how even the biggest star in hip-hop can lose control of his own empire. Before the world knew him as Drizzy Drake, the Sixth God, or the man breaking streaming records every other month, Aubrey Drake Graham was just a mixed kid from Toronto with big dreams, a soft voice, and something to prove. Born on October 24th, 1986, in Toronto, Canada, Drake's story started far away from the tough street life that many rappers claimed. His father, Dennis Graham, was a drummer for Jerry Lee Lewis, and his mother, Sandy, was a teacher. They split when he was young, and Drake was raised primarily by his mom in a modest neighborhood. Not the trenches, but not luxury either. His early fame didn't come from music, it came from acting. In the early 2000s, Drake starred in the Canadian teen drama Degrassi, The Next Generation, playing Jimmy Brooks, a basketball player who ends up in a wheelchair after a school shooting. But behind the scenes, while his co-stars were chasing acting gigs, Drake was writing bars. He was studying hip-hop, blending influences from Kanye West, Lil Wayne, and even R&B legends like Aaliyah. He wanted to mix melody with emotion, and he did. In 2006, he dropped his first mixtape, Room for Improvement, and though it didn't blow up, it was a start. His second comeback season gave him a buzz, especially with his breakout song Replacement Girl, but it was his 2009 mixtape, So Far Gone, that changed everything. That project didn't just introduce a new artist, it introduced a new sound. Emotional, vulnerable, but confident. A rapper who could sing his pain and still make it sound cool. Songs like Best I Ever Had and Successful didn't sound like anything else in hip-hop at the time, and the world noticed. Lil Wayne signed him to Young Money Entertainment, and from there, the rise was unstoppable. Drake went from Canada's soft-spoken kid to one of the most influential figures in global music. By 2015, Drake wasn't just a rapper, he was a brand. He dominated Billboard, the charts, and the culture itself. His catchphrases became internet slang. His songs became Instagram captions. He was no longer chasing rap's respect. He was rap. For all his success, Drake's biggest battle hasn't been against another rapper. It's been against perception, because for over a decade, critics and fans alike have questioned the same thing. Is Drake real, or is he just playing a character? You see, in hip-hop, authenticity is everything. Your lyrics are supposed to be your life story and not a performance. And that's where Drake's image starts to split in two. On one side, there's Aubrey Graham, the Canadian kid from a good neighborhood raised by his mother, who started as an actor. On the other side, Drake, the chart-topping rapper who talks about the mob ties, the shooters, and the blocks. And for many old-school hip-hop heads, that's where the problem lies. They see Drake as too clean, too manufactured, too far from the pain and grit that birthed rap culture. The tension really started to grow around 2015 when Meek Mill accused Drake of using ghostwriters. Meek claimed Drake's hit RICO wasn't fully written by him, that it came from another artist, Quentin Miller, and in a genre built on credibility, that's a death sentence. But instead of hiding, Drake responded the only way he knew how, through music. He dropped Charged Up, and then Back to Back. Back to Back didn't just win the beef, it made Meek a meme. Drake turned a potential career-ending moment into one of the most iconic rap beef victories of all time. He showed the world that even if he wasn't from the streets, he knew how to dominate the game. Still, that ghostwriting accusation left a permanent stain. For every hit he drops, there's always someone wondering, yeah, but did he write his own rap? Then came Pusha T. In 2018, their feud went nuclear. Pusha dropped The Story of Adidon, exposing that Drake had a secret child and calling him out for hiding it while rapping about fatherhood and loyalty.
You are hiding a child, let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker playing border patrol. Ooh!
That track hit deep, and suddenly the fake narrative had fuel again. But here's the thing. While other rappers might crumble, Drake doubled down. He leaned into the villain role. He stopped trying to prove he was hard and instead built his empire on versatility, singing, rapping, blending genres, and breaking numbers that no street rapper could touch. Still, fans couldn't shake the contradiction. How can the same man who drops Marvin's Room, a song about heartbreak, also rap about sending the goons? How can the kid from Degrassi suddenly be the boy with mob connections? Drake's persona became layered, almost theatrical. He wasn't pretending to be a gangster. He was reflecting different identities: the lover, the boss, the enemy, the icon. And maybe that's his genius. He sells emotions, not stories. He makes listeners feel something, whether or not it's real. But as we'll see in the next part, that blurred identity became both his weapon and his curse, especially when his long-simmering rivalry with Kendrick Lamar exploded into one of the most dissected rap feuds of our generation. In hip-hop, there's always been one question that divides the culture. Who's the greatest of this generation? For years, the answer flipped between two names, Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Drake had the numbers, the hits, the commercial dominance. Kendrick had the respect, the storytelling, the conscious lyrics. And while fans tried to compare stats, both artists carried something deeper: pride. Because in rap, dominance isn't about streams or awards, it's about power. And when two kings occupy the same throne, something eventually has to break. The tension started small. Back in 2013, Kendrick dropped his now legendary verse on Control, calling out nearly every rapper in the game, including Drake. He didn't diss him directly, but he drew a line in the sand. He was here to compete, not to be friends.
I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you niggas. Trying to make sure your core fans never heard of you niggas. They don't want to hear not one more noun or verb from you niggas.
Drake, cool as ever, brushed it off in interviews. He called the verse cute, but deep down, fans knew the war had begun, even if it wasn't declared yet.
And that verse was, he's giving people like moments, you know, like that verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now at this point in time? Okay. And then it was real cool for like, you know, a couple weeks. But like, if I asked you, for example, like, how does that verse start?
No, do you remember?
No, and like,
No.
now mind you, it'll go on in Complex and Rap Radar, give it like verse of the millennium and all that shit or whatever.
For years, their tension lived in the shadows, subliminals, sneak disses, lines that felt too specific to be coincidence. Drake would drop bars about rappers who were too preachy or always mad. Kendrick would clap back with lines about fake rap gods and pop stars pretending to be street. And then came 2024, the year everything exploded. Drake featured J. Cole on a song titled First Person Shooter, where J. Cole rapped love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot? Is it Aubrey or me? We the big three, like we started a league.
Love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot, is it Aubrey or me? We the big three like we started a league. But right now I feel like Muhammad Ali.
Kendrick rapped in Like That, a collaboration with Future and Metro Boomin. And in one verse, he detonated the internet. He called Drake and J. Cole out, saying, "Mother F the big three, ninja, it's just big me." No metaphors, no disguises, just straight smoke.
Drop the location, I still got PTSD. Motherfuck the big three. Nigga, it's just big me. Nigga, bum.
Kendrick wasn't just rapping, he was declaring war. Drake responded with push-ups, confident, clever, and loaded with flexes. He called Kendrick short, mocked his fan base, and reminded everyone he was still on top. He doubled down and dropped Tailor Made requesting Kendrick to drop. The track was unexpected, experimental, and bold. It featured AI-generated voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg speaking to Kendrick, mocking his place in West Coast history.
Nigga, you following through. I guess you need another week to figure out how to improve. What the fuck is taking so long? We waiting on you.
Drake was flexing technology, trolling the industry, and showing that even when cornered, he could still control the narrative. Kendrick hit back with Euphoria, a haunting diss filled with layered anger. Then came 616 in LA.
God, my confession is yours, but who am I if I don't go to war?
Surgical and cold, a cold threat to Drake. Drake dropped This Was Drake at his rawest, emotional, furious, and deliberate. He went after Kendrick's relationship, his family dynamics, and even his moral image. It wasn't the usual Drake smooth talker, it was real venom.
Nigga, I said it, I know that you mad. I've emptied the clip over friendlier jabs. You mentioned my seed and I deal with his dad. I gotta go bad, I gotta go bad.
Every bar was designed to dismantle Kendrick's credibility piece by piece. And when fans thought Drake won, Kendrick dropped Meet the Grahams 20 minutes after Family Matters. A brutal personal attack aimed at Drake's entire life. He spoke about Drake's family, his parenting, and his secrets, the kind of lines that cut far beyond rap. Kendrick sealed the coffin with Not Like Us. It was infectious with brutal lyrics. It went viral and became the cultural knockout punch.
Hi, monster on the beat, ho, Debo, any rap nigga, he a free throw, man down, call her Amber Lambs, tell him breathe, bro.
The internet lost its mind. Drake, for once, looked cornered. But he wasn't about to go down quietly. Drake fired back with The Heart Part 6. This was Drake's attempt to debunk Kendrick's claims. Unfortunately, it did not hold water. Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us had already taken off as the victory anthem. But what came next shocked everyone. Drake took the fight beyond music. He filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group, UMG, claiming they were behind the manipulation, the leaks, and the smear campaign that had escalated beyond hip-hop competition. He accused them of conspiring with Kendrick Lamar and some platforms to damage his image and interfere with his brand partnerships by hyping the song Not Like Us. It was no longer just Drake versus Kendrick, it became Drake versus the industry. And that's when the lines between hip-hop rivalry and real-life power began to blur. Because what started as a rap battle had turned into one of the most complicated public wars in music history, with millions watching, analyzing, and reacting to every single move. But after all the chaos, diss tracks, and courtroom drama, something unexpected happened. The lawsuit was dismissed. And with that decision, the story took another turn. One that would shape how the world sees Drake, not as a rapper, but as a man fighting for control of his own empire. When news broke that Drake's lawsuit against Universal Music Group had been dismissed, it sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Fans, blogs, and reactors flooded the internet with one burning question. Did Drake just lose the biggest battle of his career? For weeks, social media became a battleground. Some said Drake's downfall was poetic justice, that after years of subtle shots, manipulation, and industry control, the tables had finally turned. Others claimed the dismissal didn't mean defeat, it meant the industry was protecting itself, that no one, not even Drake, could win against the machine. And in a way, both sides had a point, because this wasn't just a legal case, it was a war between artistry and authority, between power and perception. Drake wasn't just fighting for money, he was fighting for control of his name, his influence, and his future in a world where labels pull the strings behind every artist's move. But the public, they were divided. Some fans saw Drake's actions as desperation, a man cornered by his own ego and culture vulture. Others saw him as brave, someone finally calling out the manipulation that happens behind closed doors in the music business. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar stayed silent. No tweets, no interviews. Just the echo of Not Like Us still blasting through speakers around the world. Clubs were playing it, DJs were looping it, and every time the hook hit, people couldn't help but chant, "Certified Lover Boy, Certified PDF." He later dropped his now platinum GNX album. For Drake, it was more than just a diss track. It became a cultural shift. His once untouchable image started to crack. Fans began questioning whether the sixth god could still command the same respect he had built over a decade. Then came the reactors. YouTubers, TikTokers, and podcast hosts flooded the timeline with debates, breakdowns, and conspiracies. Some claimed UMG intentionally played both sides, funding the chaos to boost streams and keep attention locked on the war. Others said Drake's lawsuit was his attempt to control a narrative that had already spiraled out of his hands. And in between all the noise, one truth became clear. This wasn't just about Drake versus Kendrick anymore. This was about how fame, ego, and corporate power collide in today's entertainment world. The lawsuit may have been dismissed, but its ripple effects were massive. Behind the scenes, brands grew cautious, interviews slowed down, and Drake's usually confident online presence turned quiet. No more trolling, no more jokes, just silence. But Drake's silence was never empty. He was watching, regrouping, and plotting his next move, just like he always does. Because if there's one thing we've learned about him, it's this: he knows how to rebuild. Every time the world counts him out, he finds a new way to return. Bigger, smarter, and even more strategic. Still, this time felt different. This wasn't a Meek Mill beef. This wasn't Pusha T. This wasn't about ghostwriters or streaming numbers. This was about legacy and the cost of protecting it. As the dust began to settle, one question echoed across hip-hop circles. Was this the fall of Drake's or the beginning of his evolution? Because in a genre where reputation means everything, sometimes losing a battle doesn't mean losing the war. It just means the game is about to change. As the smoke clears from the Kendrick Lamar feud and the dismissed UMG lawsuit, one thing is undeniable. Drake has entered a new chapter of his career, but it's not without controversy. For years, Drake was untouchable. He could drop a diss track, release a surprise album, or flex a new #1 record, and the world would watch, amazed. But this time, the hip-hop community isn't just watching, they're judging. Fans and critics alike have slammed him for filing a lawsuit over a diss track. A track that, let's not forget, Drake himself helped ignite with his push-ups and subsequent releases. Many see it as a betrayal of hip-hop's unwritten rules. In rap, you battle with bars, not courtrooms. And for taking it to the legal system, some insiders argue Drake has lost street credibility he's spent years building. Podcasts debated endlessly whether the lawsuit was a smart move or a career misstep. Even other artists weighed in, some criticizing, some cautiously supporting, but the message was clear. This battle isn't just about Kendrick Lamar anymore. It's about Drake versus the culture itself. And then there's the looming question of his next move, his highly anticipated album, Iceman. Speculation is rampant. Will the backlash affect streaming numbers? Will critics be harsher? Will fans forgive the legal battle and embrace the music the same way they did? Industry insiders suggest that the lawsuit, while dismissed, may have lingering effects on his brand partnerships, collaborations, and even radio support. Every move Drake makes now is under a microscope, from his podcast with Bobby Altoff to Instagram posts to how he teases his upcoming tracks. Although Drake thrives under pressure, every challenge, ghostwriting accusations, feuds with Meek Mill and Pusha T, and even now, legal battles, has forced him to adapt. He knows how to turn controversy into streams, criticism into hype, and challenges into headlines. Yet, this chapter is different. This isn't just about numbers. It's about legacy. It's about perception. It's about whether the sixth god can maintain his status as one of hip-hop's greatest while facing both public scrutiny and industry backlash. And as the world waits for the Iceman album, one question hangs in the air. Can Drake survive this storm of hate, criticism, and cultural pressure being a culture vulture? Because if there's one thing Drake's ego has proven over the years, it's this. He doesn't just play the game, he rewrites the rules, or maybe that's what he thinks.